WrestleTalk!
Well, it's happening, folks. The Miz is turning babyface and is going against Gunther. I am Luke Owen, DAD. I am joined by the Professor, the Truth, your gem, that champion, and the Miz #1 stan, Dan Layton.
Yes!
Welcome
I'd like it to be known. I thought I was being cute coming in like Halloween adjacent. Like I'm Halloween bounding. I've got a little...
Sorry, the hair was getting in my mouth for a second then.
What are we doing?
What's cute, Dan, is that earlier in the thing you said, I could never wear a Halloween costume because I'd always feel like I'm the only one who's wearing one. I don't want to Bridget Jones myself.
Well, we were talking... So I've got my little Freddy Krueger-esque jumper on, and that's about as much... And I've painted my nails a vague shade of purple. There's actually more red when I look at it. So, like...
It's quite maroonish.
I was going to try and do little pumpkins, but then the orange I bought turned out was just glitter. So... There's not a lot I could do. But then we were talking about Kane at the Undertaker's retirement showing up in the only one in gear, and I was like, that's why I don't go to fancy dress parties, because like I don't want to be the only one dressed in a
But you're not going to be the only one to go to a Halloween party dressed up, are you?
In Bridget Jones, they had a Tarts and Vickers party, and then she showed up in full Playboy bunny gear, and it had been cancelled. No one told her, and she was the only one dressed in costume. That's my permanent fear.
I don't think that's going to happen if you're invited to a Halloween party. No one's going to cancel the Halloween party. Keep it on Halloween.
Picture the scene. Dan, we've decided to just have an elegant Halloween dinner party. Why have you come dressed as the Joker nurse?
I would say I need new friends.
Okay, right, that's fair.
Because who is organising
a
Halloween dinner?
So you come as Sideshow Bob?
Yes, of course. Welcome to the WrestleTalk Podcast review of Monday Night Raw. I was trying to keep this one to an hour. I've got to get back to trick-or-treaters, mate.
Nah, mate.
Please do press the subscribe button. Give us a little thumbs up. Leave a comment down below with what you thought of this episode of Raw and Babyface Miz.
Yeah, boy!
And if you're watching live, please head on over to our live chat. Interact with regular hundreds of people watching this stream live and get your thoughts out there. And if you want your thoughts read out on the air, it is WrestleTalk.com/support. We'll read out all of them above the $5 US amount. So do you want to play a game? Let's get into it. And advertised for this show was Miz TV with Gunther as the special guest referee, as the special guest
referee
for a Miz TV segment. And I'd seen someone had said, there's a report going around that the Miz is scheduled for a babyface run.
The doors I've opened.
And he's going up against Gunther. And I read that and went, bollocks. Absolutely not a cat in hell's chances that happening. And it turns out that report, whoever it was from, was absolutely bang on the banana, because this segment was designed to put sympathy on The Miz, make you feel sorry for The Miz, make The Miz feel like an actual credible big deal, and build up a match between Miz and Gunther for the IC title, which I think was hugely undermined with the following segment with Adam Pearce, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Because what happened here is that Miz came out for Miz TV, and he said, and here comes Gunther. And Gunther doesn't show.
Yeah, sold.
So he's like, I'll try this one more time. You're new here. This is how it works. I introduce you and you come down. Ladies and gentlemen, Gunther. And Gunther doesn't come down. Instead, his cronies of Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci come down instead. They do some bad comedy, and then Gunther comes down, and I'm like, it's on now, because he's the best, and he's awesome, and he's rad, and he looks like a champion. He carries himself like a champion, and he's a genuinely brilliant threat. And he gets in the ring, and he's like, Miz, you are everything that is wrong with WWE and wrestling. You are a joke. You are a clown. You are not on my level, and I really do not respect you. And the Miz fired back with his usual, I'm a Grand Slam champion.
2-time.
I really don't think he should use the I main event at WrestleMania when it is sort of like quite universally thought to be the worst WrestleMania main events of, it's only in the top 5 worst WrestleMania main events ever.
Among the people who list things, yes, that's true.
Yeah, so I don't think we should be sort of listing that as one of his big accolades. But he also tried to make the claim, I made the IC title relevant. Absolutely didn't. But he had a lot of passion and fire in his promo and stuff, and it was like a full-on babyface promo. And in the end, Imperium just beat him up, and he tried to fight back, but they beat him up and sent him packing. And he left like an embarrassed child, and that's how they were putting this over. Gunther embarrassed The Miz. This first bout Hall of Famer, or whatever the term they try to use.
First ballot.
First ballots, whatever it is. And he's really trying to put over this, this is a big babyface turn for The Miz. And they announced later in the show that he's going to be part of a fatal four-way next week. It's him, Ricochet, Bronson Reed, and Ivar of the Viking Raiders, the winner of which will get a shot at Gunther. And it sort of seems to be this is a setup for The Miz versus Gunther, right?
Well, tell me that bit with Adam Pearce.
So then...
that you think was undermined.
Well, because then Miz went backstage and just did his usual Miz heel shtick with Adam Pearce, where he's just like, I'm the A-lister, and I'm the first ballot Hall of Famer, and I read like WrestleMania, and the other. But it didn't have the babyface passion behind it. It was just, I'm the Miz doing a Miz TV segment.
That's what I thought you were going to say. And that's why I'm finding this segment particularly interesting to talk about, is because there was that flavor everywhere, right? Which was that he came out to the ring for Miz TV, and he's doing the massive balls bit. Like, he's referencing, I've got massive balls, I am the most must-see. He's not really changed his character that much. And that's something that we praised Drew McIntyre's turn massively for. We were talking about it in a couple of other different places as well. That kind of slow burn thing, the kind of idea of you're not changing the character. Oh, I mean, people are going to light their pitchforks and be really angry, but MJF didn't change his character. He just, tweaked it enough. He turned the dial ever so slightly that way, and it worked. The promo itself could have gone either way. It could have been read as babyface. It could have been not. I imagine if it was not reported that it was going to be this babyface turn, would we be talking about it in these terms?
I still think so.
Do you still?
The segment's designed to put sympathy on him, which is a babyface thing to do. Like it was Gunther. It was Gunther bullying The Miz, and the way the commentary was talking about he's embarrassed.
And they mentioned it as the show was sponsored by The Challenge or whatever that show is. I think it's on TV. But the stat which Michael Cole stumbled over in one of his many issues last night was that Miz is a two-time Grand Slam champion, so they were putting him over in that regard, and the idea that he won the WWE title a decade apart, still at that level, whatever. A lot of this is with heavy asterisks. Even as a Miz fan, I'm happy to acknowledge that
the Miz's entire career is sort of filled with asterisks, which is just like, yes, you did win those titles, and yes, you did do those things, but they didn't quite mean the level that you put them at now.
However, I think that, I've always said that I think Miz is good. I think I've turned it into a little bit of a meme, the idea that the Miz is like one of the best of all time, and we all have a little bit of fun. But I do think the Miz is a very good professional wrestler. I think he's good at his job. I think that he's got talent. I think he's very committed. I think that he's a safe pair of hands. He's someone who's and for some people that is a negative. That's me damning with faint praise. I don't mean it in that way. I respect The Miz. I like The Miz a lot. I think his work on the mic especially is super committed. I think he's able to do all of those things and play with all of the colours that he plays with. I know for a fact it doesn't work for you. This is why it's hilarious that we've arrived at the point where you just decided to not comment on Miz sections, and we've chosen it as the lead story.
Well, yeah, it's the most watched thing on the YouTube channel, this segment.
I think I've also seen, I've just seen Tempest quote tweet it. Someone this morning had put a tweet being like, Miz could bust out these moves more often if he wanted to, and it's a collection of moves. There was that amazing match he had with Ricochet.
Yeah, I think that's a parody tweet.
Yes.
Because there was a tweet put out about MJF.
Yeah.
About how MJF, we talked about this on the Collision review yesterday, has always been able to do the moves that he's now doing as a babyface. Yeah. He just didn't do them as a heel. So this was a parody of that tweet, showing The Miz doing basic moves quite poorly.
Right. I, however, do feel that he has some good stuff. Like that match with Ricochet was great, right? And I think the thing he did try and make the Intercontinental Championship in 2016 feel big time. Like he talked about it like it was. Whether or not they booked it like it was is a different conversation, I think. But the fact is, this is why I have a lot of respect for The Miz. This is why I have a lot of time for The Miz, because I think he is willing to do everything in his power to really commit and turn lead into gold and do what he can do. Does he always succeed? No. Again,
it's not always his fault.
It's not always his fault.
It's actually very rarely his fault.
So with all that said, with all of that, whether or not he does turn babyface, I think it's an uphill struggle to turn Miz into a babyface because he's such a natural S-eating heel. I was trying to... soon enough in the show for me to swear, yeah. But I think, so yeah, it would be an uphill struggle. That said, Again, do I think he'll commit wholeheartedly to whatever they decide to try and do with this turn, if indeed it is that? Yes. And if he's going to go up against Gunther, do I think we are staring in the face of the very real possibility that The Miz could end up having a 5-star match before the end of the year? Yes, I think we do. Because I think we've seen Gunther is able to elevate anybody you put in the ring with him.
Because Gunther have a 5-star match with a broom.
Exactly. So Gunther having a 5-star match with a really solid worker, like, I don't think you should argue that Miz is a solid worker.
Absolutely not.
Could we be looking at that?
So, yeah, you mentioned the whole meme on this show has been like, you sort of say The Miz is one of the greatest of all time. It's kind of been the same way that the meme has become that I hate The Miz.
Right.
Like, and I've never said I hate The Miz. Like, it's a lot of things. People like, I've got a bit of a hate boner for The Miz and this and the other. Like,
that's a horrible phrase.
I know. But like the truth of it is, and I've said this a lot on this show, so apologies for sounding like a broken record, and apologies if you've watched the WrestleTalk news, because I'm going to repeat some of what I said on there as well. I think The Miz is good. I think The Miz is a good wrestler. He is a solid 2.5-star, 3-star wrestler. He is exactly what you want as a mid-card comedy heel. Because he's very good at the comedy. He's very good at controlling the crowd. He's very good at getting people to boo him. He's very good at, like, he's a good puppeteer of crowds to be like, to get them to chant things at him. He's very, very good at that. He is exactly what you would want in a mid-card WWE heel.
There is a reason that the Miz-card vortex exists.
Absolutely. There's a reason why. Sorry, I keep on to move my hair out.
A little bit to mention of you there.
Sorry, it's because it's getting in my teeth and stuff.
Yeah.
He's been there for 20-odd years. And he's been doing the same thing for 20-odd years, and it's still over these 20-odd years later. That is a huge plus point. And what I quite like about this is it's the perfect dichotomy. Because over here you've got purely standard WWE mid-card comedy heel who's got one shtick and he does it very, very well, and he's got one 3-star match that he does over and over again. Every now and again, he turns that dial up and he'll bust out a little 3 3/4, 4-star match, and everyone's like, "Oh, looks at the Miz had his working boots on tonight." But he can go out there and have a 3-star match with his eyes closed.
Yeah.
Gunther is the total opposite of that. Gunther goes out there and has a 4.5-star match with his eyes closed because he's just the best, and he is always serious. The Miz is a comedy character that no one really takes seriously. Gunther is a wrestler that everyone takes seriously. He's the ultimate final boss. He feels like the most credible champion at this point. Not only do I feel like he's a more credible champion than Seth Rollins, which I think is quite an easy thing to get over, he feels like more of a credible champion than Roman Reigns does at the moment.
Oh yeah, I agree.
And that's only because Roman's not on TV. Roman's defended the belt like 3 times this year.
We'll have a conversation about that later.
But like Gunther feels like a bigger champion than Roman does because Roman doesn't defend the title that much and isn't around, the title doesn't have as much TV time in it. But Gunther does, and Gunther is defending on TV, and Gunther is showing up, and he is making it feel like this big world-level title. So that's the great dichotomy of this. You've got the one guy who is always serious, the one guy who wrestling is a religion, the mat is sacred, and the other guy who talks about his ball size. And there's a really good dichotomy to have there.
Yeah.
And I think the only disconnect that comes with this from me, and it is always my disconnect with The Miz, and I appreciate that this is a personal issue. I'm not saying that I am right. I'm just saying this is always going to be my personal issue with this, is I can't take The Miz seriously, but The Miz tries to do serious promos and tries to be serious Miz. And I always think it never lands. Because even in this segment he was doing bad comedy.
Right. Well, the thing, I think the reason that is a fair assessment is that he will do whatever he's asked.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's committed. So if they present him, well, you're going to do a show about tiny balls now. You're going to do a whole promo with tiny balls.
That's your character.
That's your character. And I'm going to give you a t-shirt that says, "Hi, I have massive balls."
Yeah. And he was like, "Oh, I'll get that over."
And he did, is the thing. When you commit to everything, you are going to have that weird dichotomy. There's a reason we still talk about the Miz's promo on Daniel Bryan on Talking Smack.
Even though it was 7 years ago.
Because it was great. And because it was a surprise. And because it was real in a bunch of ways. It was staged and worked in another, like Daniel Bryan has spoken about, although you can't believe anything Daniel Bryan says. He loves to lie. He says that himself. In fact, you can't even believe that because he said that. Daniel Bryan very much said that it was supposed to end with me punching The Miz, but he was being so good that I left him to it so that he could keep his heat.
Yeah.
That's how good The Miz is. What's interesting when you were giving me that whole conversation just there, what I find so fascinating about that, and we've spoken about in the past, and I sort of a little bit felt it here. I don't know if it was just me. Gunther's not the best at delivering a certain type of snarky heel promo.
Absolutely.
He stood on the table a few months back even, cutting a promo on Chad Gable that you said, this isn't what I want from Gunther.
It was sort of like, you are a smelly
armpit
of
like
the
that.
city.
Oh, yes.
And I was like, oh, no, this is not what Gunther is.
That's the opposite of The Miz. So you almost have this complete circle with the two of them.
Yeah.
And I'm just so intrigued by this as a prospect and as a Miz fan. I think if they did allow Miz to commit to serious underdog, do you know what? I'm going to fight for myself here, babyface. There's a very real possibility that he could even have you sway towards I don't want to see you dethrone Gunther. Even I'm not saying I want to see him dethrone Gunther. Nine-time champion is not as interesting as building someone off the back of. It's the Undertaker streak and Brock Lesnar, you know.
Yeah.
I do, however, want to get to the point where you want this to go so well for The Miz.
Oh, I mean,
do you see what I mean?
Well, I said this on my edited review, which is that the last 2 times we've tried babyface turns for The Miz, it's ended in disaster.
When were they?
So we did one in 2012, 2013, when he became Ric Flair's protege, and he was using the figure 4. Like, that was his first big baby, and he won the IC title in one of those. This is kind of my big thing with The Miz. Yeah, you mentioned he's an 8-time champion. 8 forgettable runs.
Right.
With one really good match against Dolph Ziggler in 2016. That 2016, 2017?
Oh, yes, 2016.
That 2016 argument is a magic argument. It's such a great, and I think a great microcosm of the Miz defense, which is that 2016 period is not a year. It was a 4-week span.
Right. Between
the Talking Smack thing and the Dolph Ziggler match. Mm-hmm. It's like 4 weeks between those things happening. But people ask, oh man, 2016, he had that run. It's like, no, he had a great few weeks.
Yeah.
But those few weeks were so good.
He's really good at it.
He's really, really good at that. So yeah, he had the run when he was Ric Flair's protege and he was using the figure 4. Mm-hmm. That's when he got rid of the faux hawk.
Oh yeah.
And he went to the side parting and stuff like that. And then the other one was during the Shane McMahon feud with Mizdad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And like it was insanely silly. And also like they had a rope break in a cage match.
Yeah.
And it was all this like very bad stuff. Mizdad was very silly. I ironically love their WrestleMania match because it's crap.
35.
Yeah. It's absolutely crap, but it's hilariously crap. And I really enjoy it for how hilariously crap it is. So but I don't think that no one ever looks at The Miz and be like, you're my next top babyface guy.
Yeah, no.
When he won the title in 2021, we had a lot of people, me and Ollie were doing the review at the time, a lot of people were mentioning like, this is it. This is the start when we're going to main event level Miz and we're going to take him seriously. And me and Ollie were like, no. He is just here so he can lose to this, like to Bobby Lashley, like a comedy goof because he is a comedy goof. Lo and behold, he lost it like a comedy goof because he's a comedy goof. I am never going to take Miz seriously.
Yeah.
I would, though, be quite interested in watching Miz going up against Gunther as almost this bitter veteran that is, I'm not changing much about my character, but I'm going into this. It's kind of why I liked this segment a lot. Of just like, because it was Miz doing his bad comedy and then getting bullied by an actual proper wrestler. And the only reason I didn't like the Adam Pearce segment is because he was doing the Miz shtick, which I'm not a fan of.
Right.
So like, and that's why I sort of think it undermines some of the drama of it all. But we haven't had a babyface run with The Miz under the Triple H regime. And like a lot of things in WWE, I'm wanting to see what that is. What does that look like? What does a Miz babyface run look like under a Triple H regime?
This is what I'm saying. Like, and it's not to say that Triple H is always perfect because we have had under the Triple H regime the Dexter Loomis story with The Miz.
Well, yes, but that was it. That was him being a heel.
Right. I know.
So,
yeah. So what I'm saying is that like he doesn't always get it right. Triple H.
No.
So, you know, that's not to say that inherently this time it's going to click, but it is a more interesting prospect. And it is this thing of, given the right consistency, given the right leeway to play, to find the right lane, and given the right opponent, and how do you get more right than Gunther?
Absolutely, because he's perfect.
This could be fascinating.
Yeah, I think there could be some really interesting things here. I imagine that a lot of people will have listened to this and will have completely misinterpreted everything I said and will just tell me in the comments that I hate The Miz.
It is also objectively hilarious for you to say numerous times, I can't take The Miz seriously while dressed like Chucky. Like, I love that.
Matt Hennessy is going to kick things off in our alpha chats. Please do get them into WrestleTalk.com/support. We'll read out all of them above the $5 amount. Matt is going to kick things off. Said, I thought this was a really good go-home show. Hyped up the pay-per-view while also did a good job highlighting the IC division and the tag division. I like The Miz. I think he's better than he's given credit for. The work he did with the IC from 2016 to 2018 during those 4 title runs was great. God, I don't remember any of them. I remember the one run in 2016. He did make the IC title matter. The story of him wanting the title that reinvigorated his career makes sense. But I've no interest in a babyface run. I just think he's a better heel. When Miz is near the end of his wrestling, then I'd turn him babyface. Now let's talk about some other things on Raw. Tag Team Wrestling Matters to Triple H, and from July of last year up until WrestleMania 39, it got a lot of love and care into it. Then you know what, who was back in creative, and 6 months ripping up the scripts, dropping storylines every week. Thank God Endeavor kicked him out. I thought the 2 tag matches did a great job of highlighting all 4 teams and getting the Creed brothers and DIY over with the fans. The video packages did a good job of getting them over. During the DIY versus Imperium match, there were DIY and Johnny wrestling chants, which made me happy. The smile Gargano and Ciampa had on their faces when the chant started made me happy for both of them. I thought the Drew video package and the Seth promo both had valid points, and you can see both sides from each guy's point. I think what I like about Drew's slow heel turn is that he's becoming a heel, but he's going to be a tragic villain. While there are aspects of the Judgment Day versus Babyface that I do like, such as Jay's redemption story and Sami Zayn's seed being planted of him going for the World Heavyweight Championship, as well as Priest being insecure with Rhea leading the group, I want to get to some Survivor Series already.
SS. JD.
Yes. You know. It happens. Kat here says, Miz and Gunther are kind of similar to me. Both are given too much praise for being, at best, average wrestlers.
Whoa! Whoa! Whoa, with the spice! Did I mishear that? Did I misread that?
I might even have to read that one more time.
Please.
Miz and Gunther are kind of similar to me. Both are given too much praise for being, at best, average wrestlers.
Well, it is important to commit to your take.
I guess so. If anything, these 2 wrestlers are made for each other. I don't know what WWE's obsession with Babyface Miz is, but third time's the charm, I guess.
I'm going to push back and say that in a 20-year career, the third time trying to push a Babyface Miz is not an obsession. I don't think that's what an obsession looks like.
I don't know, but it is like, you know...
Stop trying to make fetch happen is not because she said it 3 times over the course of a 7-hour series.
Yeah, every 10 years, just be like, yeah, should we give that a go?
Why not? Yeah.
Will Campbell said, Miz agenda full steam ahead. Yes! So the Alpha Academy Creed brothers match absolutely ruled. And I'm glad Brutus and Julius, who've been absolutely excellent for a while now, were able to shine against a very good tag team featuring one of the best wrestlers in WWE.
Yes, this was an interesting show for me.
Bacon Rasher said, hi lads, new GIF confirmed, Dan hates The Miz. I like The Miz's fight. It was an okay segment, but why did DIY's first proper entrance on Raw have an ad break? Hope you'll have a great time at the Crown Jewel watch along. Still annoyed that I'm going to miss it. P.S. Luke, you look great. Thank you very much.
There you go.
Kuzu here said, a lot of people compare Miz and MJF a lot, but I feel the difference is that the comedy with the latter is rarely at his expense like it is with The Miz. People laugh with MJF, but laugh at The Miz. I have said this on this podcast for the last 3-4 years now. I have never understood the comparison of Miz and MJF other than they are heels that cut promos.
Heels that cut promos, they're quite obnoxiously loud.
There's a lot of heels that are obnoxiously loud.
There's an element to them where they both sort of have an arrogance that was unearned. I see it. It is though a stretch.
I think it's such a reach. Like to say, because there's quite a lot of arrogant heels. LA Knight was an arrogant heel, but no one was saying like, oh man, what an MJF knockoff.
Yeah,
I've never quite understood it. Although I did very much enjoy CM Punk calling him a mid MJF, which is very good. And Terrence Collins says, just spending $5 to say that Gunther turned into a big ass bully, but I both love to hate this. I also love The Miz. His promo skills are still great. And Yovai Padilla here says, I don't prefer Miz's babyface turn, but it would be interesting to see him slowly lose his heelish persona by hanging out with DIY, similar to MJF and Cole. I'm intrigued by the feud if you build up the longest reigning champ versus the record of the most IC title wins.
Yeah, you don't want to remove any bite from The Miz. You don't want him to just be a bland, run-of-the-mill babyface.
Which is what happened in that first babyface run, is they just removed every single thing that made The Miz an interesting character that sort of led him into that Money in the Bank win and led him to that world title win.
Because if you go back to the real world, like if you watch any clips from Miz on the real world, the MTV reality show he was in back in the early noughties, he's not a million miles away from the Miz, the character. Like he's just kind of abrasive. It is who he is.
He's an obnoxious douchebag.
Yeah.
Like he's in that Woodstock 99 documentary.
Right.
Because he went to Woodstock 99 like a lot of obnoxious douchebags did. Because like a lot of people were really attracted. Like you watch that documentary, it's like, oh man, that is full of obnoxious douchebags.
Yeah.
And now the Miz is there front and center of it. And you're like, there you go. Poster child.
But he really cares. He really cares about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what has made him last.
Let's get into the rest of this show. If you want to get your thoughts in, please do go to WrestleTalk.com/support. We'll read out all of them above the $5 amount. Just saw a chat there that said, Miz has layers. I disagree. Rhea, flanked by Dominic and JDM.
I've written JDM too.
As I've now updated my notes too.
But then seconds later, I get it wrong again. I put JD.
So they opened the show. It's your usual Judgment Day promo. We run Monday Night Raw. Here are the matches that we're currently having. I'm doing this. And then, because it's Groundhog Day, Sami Zayn came out to interrupt. Sami Zayn, a very, very fired up Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
I actually wrote in my notes, Sami Zayn cuts a promo with fire that does not befit this feud.
It woke me up.
Yeah, it really did, because I was there being like, oh, really
I'm knackered this weekend.
Sami Zayn entrance, yeah, I get it. And then Sami Zayn gets the promo, I was like, all right, Sami. Like,
yeah.
I don't think we actually needed that level of fire, but I'm very glad you brought it because this is why you are one of the most over babyface this company has.
And this made me feel like, whoa, okay, we're getting ready to. We are opening the garage door to put the keys in the ignition to take the car off the driveway to get onto the road to WrestleMania. That's where do you know what I mean? That's where we are.
I am so, like Matt Hennessy said in his chat, I am so ready for Survivor Series. I'm so ready for these lot to just have a Survivor Series.
Get it out of the way.
A War Games match and be done with it, and we can move on.
Hey, maybe long-term storytelling isn't worth it.
Well, okay.
That's a joke.
I know, because I say this a lot about WWE, but there's a difference between long-term storytelling and a story that takes a long time to tell. And this is just a story that's taken a long time to tell.
And it hasn't really told much of a story.
I mean, it's pretty much Invasion, isn't it? You know, like they decided, oh, we'll end this at Survivor Series. And then we're like, oh, Smeg, we've got 3 pay-per-views before we get to Invasion. What are we going to do? Same thing? Yeah. We'll just say that we did last month. Yeah, more of that, I guess. More of the same. Turn him heel? Yeah, if you want. Should we move him over to the Alliance? Probably. Yeah, I mean, if you want to, I guess that'll fill some time. Like kind of where we are at the moment, and I'm ready for us to get to Survivor Series, particularly as well because there are 2 tag matches on this show that we're here to be like, hey, the tag division. Once we get past Survivor Series, I feel like the Judgment Day can focus on the tag division.
Yeah,
and we can have some tag team stuff, and I think that's quite exciting.
I completely forgot that they were tag team champions. When we were doing the predictions, I was like, oh, wait, that's a wrinkle in my story that I've written for myself.
I only remembered they were the tag team champions on this show because Jay said, hey, me and Cody might go after the tag belts again. I was like, no! Yeah. But Sami came out, got a very, very good promo. So Michael Cole said, Sami Zayn has been a long time thorn in the side of the Judgment Day. And I was like, I'll say.
Did you see Jay McDonough's face plant? When they had a little fight.
No.
I mean, I didn't know if you were going to talk about the fight bit just yet, but
they got into a fight.
They got into a fight, and JD McDonough was thrown over the top rope, and he did the perfect Taka Michinoku Royal Rumble 2000. No,
he was taking like shots all over his face because he got the stomp later on. He had the 2 crossroads that he took like a champ on the main event.
Well, I suppose it is much wider than the average face, so it's able to take a lot more impact.
It's actually really difficult for him not to take it.
I'm sorry.
But and then Ricochet ran down, sort of to even up the odds, but also because his match was next.
Yes.
It was him versus Dominic Mysterio. Rhea and JDM caused distractions, and Dominic got a win with the feet on the ropes. Ricochet acted like a spoilt child afterwards.
Dominic Mysterio got "You Can't Wrestle" chants briefly during this match, which is really funny because the kid is getting better and better. I really enjoyed the match itself. I thought they had good chemistry, and I think he's in good shape at the moment. I went back and looked at. Do you remember his gear always used to just sort of go to the one side, and it always made it harder to take him seriously. His look is more cohesive. He's got in better shape. It's the high key the most I've enjoyed a Ricochet match in a long while. There was a great bit where Dominic just ran into a super kick, so that it made the super kick look really vicious. There was a Northern Lights into a deadlift vertical that I know he does a lot, Ricochet. It all just looked clean. I thought they did a really, really good job.
I liked this match a lot.
Yeah.
It was really, really good. And Dominic got the win. Ricochet acted like a sport child, complained to Adam Pearce about it, and Adam Pearce, that's when he booked him in the Fatal 4-Way for next week.
Right.
Got a video promo for DIY, and then we got a video promo for Raquel Rodriguez, and we got these video promos for all 5 of the women in the Fatal 5-Way match.
It was a promo-heavy show this week.
There were 10 video promos hyping 12 wrestlers, and granted, a lot of that is because there's 5 women to hype in a Fatal 5-Way match, 4 of which were not on the show.
And this was the go-home.
It's the go-home show. I think it's a pretty good way of hyping up the match, and I think it gave everyone some mic time. It gave everyone some personality. I love video promos like this because you get to use archival footage of them being great. It's a way of showing the audience rather than telling the audience why you're great.
It's heck more effective than just standing them in the ring with live mics.
Absolutely it is. So I really like the fact that we got a lot of these throughout the night. And I like that we got them for DIY. I like that we got them for the Creed brothers. I like that we got them for Candice and Xia Li, which we'll get to in a little bit. But we are kicking things off with Alpha Academy versus the Creed brothers. Creed brothers who answered Alpha Academy's open challenge over the weekend on Twitter. And as reported by Dave Meltzer, this is the official call-up for Julius Creed, Brutus Creed, and Ivy Nile, who accompany them to the ring.
They pushed these guys hard. We got a video package, and then throughout the match, they were reading off stats and reading and treating them like big time prospects.
So Dave said on Wrestling Observer Radio today that when Julius first came into NXT, early doors, he was being told by people working there, this company is high on Julius Creed and see him as a future WrestleMania main eventer.
Right.
And I think of the two, he's the Shawn of the group, if you want to use that as a broad term.
It's a bit of a cliche, but
it is a cliche term to use, but I think he is probably going to be looked at the Shawn of the group. And actually, in this match, you can certainly see why, because he's awesome.
Oh my god,
he's so great. I mean, he just got in and did wrestling with Chad Gable, and it was just like him and Chad was like, should we just go out there and just do some wrestling? And they're like, and they just did, and it was fantastic.
I mean, we spoke about this last night on yesterday on Collision when we were talking about the MJF Kenny match, where it's like everyone has their type of wrestling that they're like, it feels like the good Lord sent this for me. I was like, the second that this was confirmed, I like NXT as it is. I've been very keen on this. If you weren't aware of who these people were, just find the clip of him doing he had someone else in a submission and did a single arm power bomb at the same time. It was amazing. And I was a little bit trepidatious that it wasn't going to live up to my personal hype. And the crowd were quiet because these are brand new people who they've never met before. And even though Michael Cole telling me how I should be watching them, the crowd don't hear that. And then you literally heard the crowd come to life.
Yeah.
As Julius lifted Chad into a vertical suplex from a squat and then tagged Brutus in and passed Chad over. And you're like, oh, I haven't seen this. Then Otis comes in and starts plowing through their double clotheslines and through their double elbows. And the crowd are picking back up again. Before you know it, everyone is into this because we start, not only do we start with some brilliant wrestling, it starts here as all good wrestling should, and then builds and builds and builds, and gets to the point where we get a 450 breaking up the pin, followed by a moonsault on a pile of 4 of them, which was just amazing. And then immediately afterwards, we got a Maxine moment. We've been talking about missing Maxine.
We were saying we need one of our Maxine moments.
Well, hey, guess what? We've got a 6-way back because Ivy Nile's here, and so Maxine and Ivy Nile are having a face-off, and Tozawa goes in to get this, but Ivy Nile takes him out. Oh, I was on the edge of my seat. I was having such a good time. And then they got the win.
They won. Yeah, absolutely.
They got a perfectly clean win.
They hit the Brutus ball and got the win. A fantastic match to establish the Creed brothers as a genuine act on this roster. And they really showed up here. There's I think the stuff between Brutus and Otis early doors was quite stilted, and they weren't quite on the same page. There was a lot of and a bit of miscommunication, but they picked it up and they really found their feet. And now by the end of this match, they, like you said, they whipped the crowd into a frenzy because Otis is so over and Chad is so over, and that is some heat transference of we like you and now we like them as well.
It's Bubba Ray Dudley. I was doing some research on Mae Young, and Bubba Ray Dudley in a quote was like, you don't just get over, you need someone to get you over, and Mae Young got the Dudley boys over. It's that thing. It's like you need a good dance partner, to use the parlance that I shouldn't because I'm not a wrestler. Also using Otis for the person to do the Brutus Ball on to establish
Absolutely.
this is a brilliant
It's
choice.
such a good... Because he's the big dude.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, Julius just puts this guy on his shoulders and lifts up and stays there for a while the crowd are on the feet. It's the Bronson Reed thing.
Yeah.
When Bronson Reed was getting the tsunami over, and every time he goes up, you see people like getting out of their seats. You saw people getting out of their seats with like almost Julius rising up with Otis on his shoulders for Bruce to do the Brutus Ball.
That's such a good point with the visual, because I was watching back an Eddie Guerrero match from 2003 recently, and something I miss, like in a big way, is camera flashes during moments where someone's like, when Eddie would dive for a frog splash, or whether it be a giant superplex, it literally makes it look magical. I feel sorry for kids who don't get to experience the camera flashes all at once. I wish we could go back to the olden days, because the 90s were better.
The Rock's entrance.
The Rock's entrance. Yeah, it was glittering. He'd be stood there and you've got the spotlights going and then all the people taking, so that you've got the picture of the Rock standing up. It literally looks like magic, right? The equivalent of that now is seeing people stand up because they want to be stood up to see this moment happen. I thought this was an excellent, excellent debut, and it's what NXT is for. Yeah. And now that we've got Vince McMahon, who hated and never watched NXT, out of the way, in theory, and we've got Triple H and Shawn Michaels with this beautiful little osmosis thing they've got going on at the moment, cooking. The children are eating.
And Daddy's eating well. And I really, really like this. I thought putting them against Alpha Academy is the first perfect opponent for them.
Yes.
And again, it's a lot of those building blocks to rebuild that tag division and make tag wrestling feel like it means something, which hasn't really since WrestleMania. Because, Owens and Zayn won the tag belts, but then just feuded with the Usos again, then just feuded with the Judgment Day, then lost them to the Judgment Day, then the Judgment Day lost them to Cody and Jay, and then they lost them back to the Judgment Day. Like, the tag belts have just been props since WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And
adornments, accessories.
Exactly. And I think we can get back to the point where those tag belts mean something again.
Agreed.
This was great. Finn and Priest were hanging out backstage, and then the New Day came in dressed as the New Judgment Day.
Which didn't outstay its welcome, and I kind of was like, huh, and then that was it, and I was quite happy.
Yeah, they did their comedy, and they left.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the Judgment Day walked in to stand in a row, and they basically teased the idea that Damian Priest is going to cash in this weekend. There was a really good moment.
He said it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, of like, if you tune into the pay-per-view this weekend, you'll see a cash in. So someone picked up on this. I didn't notice this at the time, and I've seen someone like clip it out afterwards. When they all decide to be back on the same page, because Priest is like, why are you going out there and making matches for me? Because in the opening segment, Rhea Ripley made Sami Zayn versus Priest for the main event. She's like, look, there's no leader of the Judgment Day. We're all on the same team. And they all sort of put their fists in and stuff. Damian Priest just drops everything and is just staring at all of them, but staring particularly daggers at Rhea Ripley. But when Rhea Ripley turns around to him, he goes,
nice.
And sort of does the pretense that he's actually happy in this group, but he's not.
I didn't spot that.
Which fuels the Cody promo that we get later on.
Yeah.
Nia Jax got a video package, and she liked squash. And then we had the Miz segment, and it led into our other tag team match of the evening, DIY versus Imperium, with Cole claiming this is DIY's Raw debut, but we know that that's a lie, because they had when Raw was in bad ratings and Vince panicked.
Oh, he just picked up Aleister Black and...
He just went to Triple H and he said, give me 4 of your NXT guys. And he gave him Aleister Black, Ricochet, and DIY, even though DIY were currently feuding and breaking up.
Did he give them as DIY?
As DIY, and they had a tag match on Raw.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. And that was... So this is not their Raw debut.
Well, it's a retcon, isn't it? Let's just pretend that never happened.
Yeah. But they won with Meet in the Middle. A very fun match. They keep teasing the breakup of Imperium. I wish they wouldn't.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
We're rebuilding this tag team division. Don't break up a tag team now.
Because you know who actually is from Germany? Ludwig Kaiser.
Yeah. But it was a very, very good match. And it's great to see DIY get the run.
Big time.
Shinsuke Nakamura cut a promo looking for his next sacrifice and wants them to show themselves. CM Punk WWE return confirmed.
Well, this was it. I saw someone and I was like, God, you are stretching. So I hope you're doing yoga, because the stretches you need to do to make this happen. This one, I saw someone say there was a line in it where he said, like, be a lion or something like that. And that's a lyric in the song. That's not a reference.
Sean has made this point on the Fightful post shows for Raw. CM Punk has done so many promos over the years that you can string together anything you really want to be.
It's twisting the facts to meet your theory rather than,
However, we're clearly building to something with Shinsuke. I don't know what that is. And if Shinsuke just says, I'll have an open challenge at Survivor Series, that is going to lead to a lot of people thinking that it's a Punk return, or to Randy Orton.
I hear voices.
I hear voices will hit.
I think that would be a disappointment, is the thing, if they tease it and tease it and tease it. Do you remember how last year, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. This time last year, we were talking about the women's War Games match, and it was in Boston, and you could have a big hometown return for Sasha Banks, and it was never going to happen. But a lot of people were talking about it could do, and like, you know, whatever. So they gave us Becky Lynch early to make sure that we weren't disappointed on the night. It's one of those, I think. People are getting carried away.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's not my microphone.
It's fine. You look wonderful, darling.
It's also because I've just suddenly realised that there's stars on my costume that were put there by my friend's 4-year-old because she was giving me stars for being such a good patient. She was putting plasters on my hand because I was bleeding a lot and it was really stingy. And then because I was such a brave boy, she was giving me little stars.
Were you really?
No.
Oh, okay.
She was 4 years old.
She was just telling you that it hurt.
Exactly. Yeah, she was telling me, I pretended this hurts a lot. This really
weird.
hurts.
I don't. It's my worst night of the year.
And she gave me stars because I was such a brave boy.
I moved into the tower to escape children as well. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting where it's going. Shinsuke's a weird first feud for Punk back. I'd rather Punk return unless you get both. You get Randy come back against Shinsuke and then Punk return in the War Games.
Yeah.
That's what I'd do. Also, do you remember when Punk was on commentary? I'm sort of at the point where I feel like we're more likely to see Punk make a return to WWE in a commentary fashion than in a wrestling fashion. At some point, and in like 15 years.
All I'm going with is by what the reports are currently, which is ET's not happening.
Right.
So, I don't know.
I'll believe it when I see it.
I will believe it when I see it. We will see at Survivor Series is basically going to be... Actually, we'll probably see like the 2 weeks leading up to Survivor Series if those sorts of talks have changed. But we will see. Video promo for Candice LeRae. Dan will be pleased to know there was no mentions of fairies this time around.
Yeah, but I can't stop thinking about it.
And then we had Candice LeRae versus Xia Li. Michael Cole accidentally called Candice LeRae Candice Michelle.
He's having such a mare.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
This match ended via ref stoppage when Xia Li hit a spin kick on Candice LeRae and they did like a concussion angle. This plays off a real concussion that Xia Li gave Mercedes Martinez in NXT.
I didn't know that.
With the same referee as everything. So they played it up like it was the exact same thing. It was the same move and like Mercedes went down like sack of spuds. Referee sort of like had to call it off. Camera went and focused on Xia Li. This time they were very much playing more of an angle because the camera was focused on Candice LeRae. I
went back and looked at it again because I was like, I don't think it looked like that bad, and it wasn't. Obviously, it was an angle. I didn't realize it was making a specific reference. I wrote as Xia was coming to the ring that presentation is everything, and so I think they need to look at their music and entrances for her.
They could look at their entrances for a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree completely, but specifically related to this match, there was something about all of the, which I assume is, as Wade was referencing, related to martial arts, but it just didn't. It felt awkward because the music was quiet and
the crowd were quiet.
Because in many ways this was another debut.
Yeah, I've seen it on TV a lot.
Yeah, so
it's like going to see a stand-up show or like a variety show or something where someone's going on stage and doing some dance moves or like showing off, but the crowd aren't that interested or that bothered, and so you're just watching it in silence and you're seeing like the of the floorboards.
Yeah,
that's kind of what you got here.
It's the polar opposite of the Creed Brothers debut for me, which is that if some of us are seeing Xia for the first time, and I assume many really are because not a lot of people are watching main event, it doesn't make her look impressive. It just felt uncomfortable. There was something really uncomfortable about the whole thing. Like I didn't enjoy it. I didn't feel like, wow, she really knocked her out with that kick. If you wanted to make that kick look impressive, kick her and have a pinner, I wrote I'll see if it goes somewhere just in case they wanted to do something with Candice's character with this, but I do not think this was a successful segment in any way.
I think the Becky Lynch segments makes this even worse.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to in a little bit.
Yeah.
Sami and Jay hung out backstage with Jackie interviewing Jay, and this is where he said that him and Cody might go for the tag belts again. Got to get to Survivor Series somehow. Shayna Baszler got a video promo, and then we got a backstage segment with the trainers, the party girls, and DIY looking after Candice, not Michelle. Then we got one of my favorite things on the show.
Yeah.
And outside of as a non-wrestling thing, this was my favorite thing on the show. The Creed Brothers is the best thing on this show.
Yeah, I agree with that.
This for me is a really close second, and it's the best non-wrestling in-ring thing. It was Drew McIntyre's promo video. This video promo was fantastic. And really, it's not covering any new ground. It's not covering any ground that hasn't been covered in any of the promos that he's cut previously. I won the Royal Rumble in front of fans. Then I won the title in front of no fans. Then I went to Clash of the Castle and I got screwed out by the Bloodline. Diddly-dee. It's all covering the same topics. But with the archive and with like interviews from him that were taken at the time from that WrestleMania during the pandemic, makes this feel so much more of a complete segment and a complete story. And it really added so much to this. And he had some great lines in this as well. It's about, I'm never going to forgive the Bloodline. I know a lot of people are, but I'm never going to forgive them because they took away my moment in front of my nation's men and women.
One of our own. We were all there together.
Yeah.
Also, Wales and Scotland have that Celtic thing where they hate us.
Exactly, yeah.
So, like...
It's like Seth is willing to break his back to defend this title. I'm willing to break his back to take it. It's going to be his... Like, Seth was my first title defense in 2020. I'm going to be his last in 2023. So some really good lines in there. But, man, the archive and stuff in here just, like, levels this promo up. I thought this was fantastic.
Well, there's something about having the mic in your hand in front of people that can be absolute magic if you are someone like The Rock, if you are someone like LA Knight. Like, that segment with LA Knight and Roman Reigns on SmackDown, I thought was absolutely exquisite.
So good.
But sometimes it can be far more effective if you do it in a different way. Like, I always go back to it. Sorry, it's a refrain at this point, but it's Drew and Sheamus in the gym before WrestleMania when they kind of were doing a workout together, and then it turned into them cutting promos on each other, and it felt real. And it was like, make that part of your weekly show. Not every single week, but do something different with it. And this was a really effective example of it. So effective, mind, that it's even now at this point where I feel like the World Heavyweight Championship isn't good enough for Drew. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was like, this story, I have a lot of respect for Drew McIntyre as a wrestler and as a person. I think what he did in the pandemic was an unthankable task, and unthinkable, whatever the phrase is. It was difficult. I don't want to see him make good title. I want to see him get the big one, right? But that brings us back to the whole conversation, the whole other time. Arguably, it could make the belt feel better, like because it makes it something, because he sees it as a prize that would make good for that. It was a really effective segment.
Yeah. I thought it was so good that Rollins' return promo that he then cut in the ring was a good promo.
Yep.
It's all about boo-hoo, cry me a river. We all had a difficult time, Drew. It wasn't easy for all of us, Drew.
I have a real disagreement with Seth's promo here. Good promo, good delivery. But my conceit for you is that like, it's all relative. Like, someone else's struggle doesn't invalidate yours. Like, it's not a points-based system. Everything's relative.
Yeah, that's why I didn't really love this as a promo.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a good rebuttal to be, boo-hoo, you had a bad time during the pandemic. It's like, yeah, well, a lot of us did.
It's not to say that, like, because you didn't suffer enough. Like, it's not that Drew's sitting there saying, like, my struggle or winning the belt and in front of no one and then having to do this and nobody really got me. It invalidates all the people who lost loved ones or didn't get to see loved ones or any of that. That was not the point Drew was making. And so there's something about Seth's rebuttal that just felt wrong.
I got off on the wrong foot with this promo as well, because he comes out for this promo and Michael Cole says, can Seth Rollins keep up this breakneck pace he's keeping up as champion?
And then said,
while at the same time saying, this is his first singles match on TV in 4 months.
Thank you very much.
It's his first match on Raw since August.
This was supposed to be the workhorse world title.
This is not a breakneck pace that he's working. This is not Orange Cassidy with the international title. This is a guy who's barely... This is Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
This is a guy who is barely wrestling on TV, is only wrestling on pay-per-views. This is not a workhorse belt.
We'll come back to it when we get to Becky in literally the next segment.
Abso-bloody-exactly.
Like,
abso-bloody-exactly.
You know.
So it doesn't help his case. You're trying to put over, he's really breaking his back to do this. It's like, I don't see him doing it. I've seen him have 2 matches in 2 months.
And then that's why I sit there and I go, maybe that's why this belt doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Because you've only wrestled for 4 times in a month or whatever.
Yeah.
Like 4 times in 4 months. I don't know whatever it was. But the match itself was fine.
Yeah, he had a match with JD McDonough, and it was fine.
Yeah. The post-match angle, that's where he said, don't waste that thing on me, which, was fun. Like, I like the idea that he's not intimidated, he's squaring up to it. It's like, you cash that in on me, you will lose, rather than being afraid of it or whatever. Like, that was kind of cool. I just didn't like his promo, and I didn't like the way they were framing it.
there was a comment on the WrestleTalk News thing that really did make me chuckle, which is that they made the argument that I have to not like Seth Rollins because I'm British, and therefore because I'm British I have to love Will Ospreay.
What was I saying about theory and facts? Like, I mean, that's a reach.
It's one of those ones you read and you're like, shall we read that again?
I get my words wrong.
So just make sure that I'm understanding.
And by the way, I like Seth Rollins.
I don't like this character.
That's it. I don't like the framing of the character, and I don't think he works as. It's so weird because we're coming up to like sort of an anniversary or so of me being involved in the podcast in whatever way, shape, or form, and it was about a year ago that he started being vaguely good guy again, and it was like, oh, it's not working as well for me.
This feels a lot like his Universal Championship run after
that
he beat
part.
Brock.
Yeah.
And it was like, actually, you're quite lame. And it was like, that person who had the sign, Seth Rollins is lame.
He's always better as a chaser.
He is a bit better as a chaser. And he's much better as a heel as well.
Oh, he's incredible as a heel.
Yeah. But I don't think... I'm not putting a lot of the blame of this on Seth. Because it is on the commentary. It's of the presentation of him and this character.
He's another Miz. He'll always commit.
Well, that's it. He will always commit. And he is... I'm going to say he's trying his best to make the feel... And he probably is trying his best to make the belt feel special. But if you defend it twice in 2 months...
It's the booking.
And you're not resting on TV either, then it doesn't really feel like it is much of anything.
And if you know that he's got a bad back and he can't wrestle as much, maybe put the belt on someone else when you're trying to get the belt over.
So this is where we had Ricochet arguing with Adam Pearce, and Adam Pearce put him into the match instead. And then Chelsea Green and Piper Niven walked up as the Hart Foundation. Piper Niven as Jim the Anvil Neidhart was fantastic.
Spectacular. She looked amazing.
Chelsea Green looked fantastic. She'd crimped her hair be like Brett.
It was less Brett, it was more Cher, but I liked it nonetheless.
Oh, man. And if I could turn back time. I thought this was so great. And then Valhalla and Ivar walked up, and that's how Ivar got put into the IC title match as well. So I'm really looking for that. But I really enjoyed Chelsea and Piper here.
So good. And then Adam Pearce has decided that his official's not getting over. So now I need a drink. That's his new catchphrase. I guess that's the t-shirt I'm waiting for.
They announced Sami versus Judgment JD McDonough. Judgment. I just said JD. They announced Sami versus JD for the kickoff show.
Yeah.
Kickoff show matches are back.
Good.
Yeah.
Gives us something to talk about instead of just watching for when Booker T says shucky ducky quack quack.
I mean, it gives us a good chance to get through a lot of our UltraChats early.
There it is.
And then I looked. So this was a segment of 2 halves. This first half was awesome. The second half was cack.
Interesting.
The first half of this was Jackie interviewing Becky Lynch. And Becky talks about losing the NXT title, and she puts over Lyra Valkyria like $1 million. She makes Lyra Valkyria seem absolutely fantastic because she's like, look, do I feel great without the belt? No, but if I'm going to lose to someone, I'm glad I lost it to someone who's good as her. Put her over massively. Put the title over massively. And then she puts over how important that belt was and how hard she worked with that belt. She had more title defenses in 42 days than Rhea Ripley has had all year. I've had more titles defenses in 42 days than Roman Reigns has had. She had more title defenses than Seth Rollins. She didn't mention that one, though. But she was putting over that, and she was like, I don't need the belt needs me. This was a fantastic promo that really made Becky Lynch the man. She is awesome, and she is the best. And it's a great little slow build to that WrestleMania match when we do Becky versus Rhea. And I cannot wait for that match. And then Xia Li walked in. And Xia Li said, I didn't get my chance at the NXT Women's Championship. And Becky said, well, you had a chance and you opted not to take it. But you can have a match with me if you'd like. And Xia Li said, oh, I'll have a match when I decide. What does this mean?
Yeah, it was very, very stupid.
Absolute nonsense, because this makes Xia Li look like a fucking idiot. Because she could have had a shot at the NXT Women's Championship. And
she said, no thanks,
and
I'll wait.
Opted not to.
Yeah.
Good going, you!
Presentation is everything. Like, if they're not going to present her properly, she's not going to get over. I think Xia Li's quite good. But this is not the way to do it.
Absolutely stupid.
But it is the tale of 2 halves. It is the polar opposite, because everything you said in the first half of that was dead right, and that's the part that I want to focus on, because when I was saying that, Seth not defending this belt, maybe that's the reason it doesn't feel big time. Becky Lynch and the NXT Women's Championship, I wanted to see what was going to happen with that belt every single week. And I know that everything's on a scale, and I recognize that it's not like that belt was as big as Gunther's or was big as Roman Reigns or whatever. But I cared, and my God, that match at No Mercy. And, you know, the rating that they did on NXT Halloween Havoc Night 1, I was so excited to watch it and had it spoiled for me.
Sorry,
it's all right.
I'm so
it's
sorry.
All right. I'll let you off this time.
So sorry.
It's
though.
fine. But, like, it's one of those things. But that's the point, is I wanted to see it. Like, it wasn't something you could just casually put away. It was something where I was like, I'm going to avoid the internet and not see it because I want to see the match. She did that in 42 days by simply defending the championship and making it seem like a prize worth fighting for, and being good and putting on, you know, solid to really good to, at some points, even great matches. Mm-hmm. That's all you need to do. That's all you need to do. And that's why Becky's an MVP. And there's a lot of news coming up and talking about these Endeavor deals and what they might look like. This is the first new deal negotiation cycle under Endeavor. Becky Lynch has got to be a top priority for me.
Yeah, so the reports are that her and Drew are two deals that we know are definitely up in 2024. Neither of them have been approached yet.
Yeah.
Drew certainly hasn't.
Which sounds like a potentially normal thing. Like maybe they'll start the conversations later on. I don't know how it works.
I was going to say, maybe we're looking at this as from the way that WWE used to do it, which was try and sign you a year out from your... Like, we look. Moxley said that when his contract was coming up in 2019... They were approaching him from all of 2018 to be like, here's a contract, re-sign. And they were doing that with talent throughout this period of time. When they were signing people to those 5-year deals to stop them going to AEW, they were approaching them with a year before their deal ended so they could get those deals in place. Maybe the Endeavor way of doing it is waiting.
There's definitely something in having to wait for the deal to go through completely with the new structures in place before you can start doing that kind of thing. There's definitely something in that. The other side of the coin really is that they're not being presented as people who they don't have plans for. Like, Drew's in a world title match and Becky's pitching a WrestleMania title match. Like,
but that also could be, you know, Becky's, I think, is a different one. Drew, I think, could be a case of, we saw this with Claudio. Yeah. Like, before Claudio's contract was coming up, and actually they got him to re-sign because I was like, we'll put you in a world title match with Roman Reigns, and they did. And then the second that was over, it was like, back to the mid-card.
Right.
We got what we wanted, which was you to re-sign. Could just be a way of, like, we said it with AEW and Will Ospreay. It's like, look how much we're giving you here. Do you want to come and sign with us? Like with Drew, like, hey, look, we put you in this big world title program. Look at this cool story we're doing with you. You want to re-sign with us? It's kind of like putting food on people's plates to get them to eat.
Totally. And it's just one of those things that when I look at it, when Becky starts pointing at Rhea, and I imagine Becky with that championship doing what she was doing with the NXT championship, which, by the way, made a really good argument for there to be a mid-card women's championship because there was always space for it. There was always space for it on the show.
I've got to agree with you, though. I've got to imagine Becky is a top priority.
Yeah.
Drew, I don't know. Drew has already, you know, the reports are that he is ready to see what's on the other side of the fence. He's been creatively frustrated for a little while now. I don't know whether this most recent will have changed that.
You need a healthy division, I think. And in the case of the men's division, they've kind of got a lot. If Drew wanted to go over and do something in AEW, it could be really good for him. If he wanted to go to TNA, you know, there's
coming down to England.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities. Yeah, the scene is great. If WWE want to, and look at NXT this week, women's wrestling was all over it. If they want to push women's wrestling, if they want these young women, especially these new talents that they're signing to get the reps in, Becky said there's not really any legends that you can get the reps in with. She kind of is that. That's why, for me, she's a big priority.
But the Xia Li thing was bad.
Yeah,
anyway,
very bad.
We had Natalya versus Chelsea Green in a trick or street fight. We didn't have Samantha Irvin on the show this week, so we didn't get our Chelsea Green.
No, we had oh my gosh, what's she called? Bad form. Sorry.
Amari?
Don't remember.
I don't remember what her name is.
I'll fix that one day. I'm so sorry. Daria? No, that's
Daria. What? The cartoon.
Yeah, she was there.
It was Daria doing it. Oh man, Daria doing wrestling announcement in misanthropic ways. That'd be great. So yeah, Chelsea Green was cosplaying as Bret Hart with Piper as Jimmy Apple Neidhart because it's Natalya. She is a Hart. She even came out. I thought it was great.
That's her uncle and dad, by the way.
And Natty cosplayed as the Bunny from AEW. And this was the exact same match we saw on Collision. Only this one was not for a Women's World Championship. So. Yeah. This one was a bit easier to have a bit of fun with.
To swallow, yeah.
To swallow, yeah. And it was, plunder. They did the same candy corn spots. They did the same. The same deal you saw on Collision. They did here on Raw. And I say the same thing you saw on Collision is the same thing you saw with a Halloween match last year.
Yeah.
And a Halloween match the year before that.
Remember when Otis had the pumpkin on his head?
Yeah. Because this is what you do every Halloween. Mm-hmm. You do a Halloween plunder match. And this was this year's Halloween plunder match. The big spot of this, though, was there was a table with 3 pumpkins on it. And Chelsea Green lifts up one of the pumpkins. She then lifts up the middle pumpkin and sees the Nikki Crosses underneath it, so puts that one back. She then lifts up the other pumpkin, and then she lifts up the middle pumpkin again, and Nikki Cross is under there. And she is so scared, she's holding the pumpkin above her head, and is going, ah! And then she's so scared that the pumpkin slips out of her hand, and it lands on her head, and she stumbles around with a pumpkin on her head. Genuinely very funny.
It did have a little laugh, and also I did have a little jump scare at Nikki Cross. I'm not gonna lie, it was quite creepy.
Did you not see the first time?
I'm a little worse. No, but when the first time when she popped out, I was like, oh wait, hang on, I understand. It's Nikki Cross. That's a reference to last week and this continuing whatever.
No, what I mean is that she lifted up the pumpkin. And
That's when I jump scared.
Oh, I see.
Because there was something under it.
Yeah,
and then I think it was supposed to be one of those nothing there. Was there something there? But it was enough to. I'm very weak. I jump scare at a lot of things. They were doing a really good job promoting this match on social media in the few days leading up to it. I was very excited. Chelsea Green's great at social media. My current favorite thing is her claiming to not be available for the match tomorrow on NXT. But it turned into a. I'm sorry, it was a bit of a shit show. It was a bit of a mess. At one point, she's going to do the big jump onto the table, but the cameraman won't get out of the way. I think misjudging the height of the jump. It was odd.
I didn't mind it.
I didn't mind. No, it was. It was just a bit messy.
Oh yeah, it's messy, but it's kind of purposely messy in a way. And the finish was messy, a lot of miscommunication between Chelsea and Piper, but Chelsea gets the unprettier for the win.
They went for it.
Crowd were not as into this as the Collision crowd were for theirs. I don't know what that tells you about WWE and AEW's audiences currently. The build for this you mentioned on social media.
Yeah,
I have seen that photo of Natalya holding Matt Cardona. From the SmackDown, from the what was it? It
was the invasion when there was Spider versus.
What did they keep saying? What did they keep saying when they were doing
Brand
it?
Warfare?
No, they kept saying something. They kept being like, "This is what we're doing." I can't remember what they called it now, but they called it they had a strategy that they were doing. Right? I've seen that photo hundreds of times because a lot of people posted. It was only over this weekend that I noticed that Natalya was cupping Cardona's bollocks.
Yeah.
I've never noticed that before.
Me neither.
I've always wondered, why do people keep sharing this image? And I've never noticed what the comedy of it was. And it was only on this weekend where they literally were pointing out the comedy of it that I was like, oh,
that is quite funny.
That is funny.
Yeah.
I now get why people keep sharing this thing. I'm going to look to the chat now, see if anyone remembers. Under Siege! That was it!
Under Siege.
They kept storming through Raw being like, Under Siege! It's my favourite Seagal movie. Rhea Ripley got the final video package, and then our main event was Damian Priest versus Sami Zayn that ended in a rubbish DQ.
Yes.
And Judgment Day ran down, Jey Uso ran down, and Cody Rhodes ran down, and everyone brawled, and then Cody stood tall.
Jimmy Van was like, I think I've seen this ending 18 million times, and I would say that's an understatement.
I'm so done.
Yeah.
And Cody Rhodes got a very good promo at the end of the show.
The promo was great, and this is what leads us into, you'll see it in our Crown Jewel predictions, but it was very much the promo. It was the kind of 2 fire promos to open and close the show. Sami had one of a lot of passion, Cody had one with a lot of passion, and Cody was basically saying, you are a follower. Like, you say there's no leaders in the Judgment Day, but it seems to me that you are quite clearly someone who stands in line as Rhea Ripley or Finn Balor or whatever tells you what to do. JD McDonough feels like he makes more choices in the Judgment Day than Damian Priest does. And it seemed to get in his head a little bit. And so my pitch for Crown Jewel is that Judgment Day are going to cost Damian Priest the match. They're going to try and help, but they're going to accidentally get it wrong, which has happened a few times under Damian Priest's watch. And he's going to snap, and he's going to, for once, go out on his own and say, no, I'm going to cash this in. I was waiting for it, even back to SummerSlam. Plan A. No, plan B. We're doing plan A. We're doing plan B. There was all of that. Damian was kind of in the right each time. Arguably, it was the perfect time for him to go and cash in on Seth Rollins because Seth Rollins had just been through the ringer in a last man standing match and barely got to the 10. But Rhea said no. This time, he's going to sack him off and cash it in. And I see him winning the belt. It would be a far more interesting thing.
But that was the show. I gave it 3 out of 5 in the edited review.
Yeah.
It was a very good, serviceable show with an excellent tag match that everyone should go out of their way to watch.
It's a thumbs up for me purely for the Creed brothers.
Yeah, I mean, it is a thumbs up show. Absolutely, like 100% it
Yeah.
is. But yeah, that was a very fine little show. Alicia Taylor.
Alicia Taylor, thank you.
There you go. So there we go. Our poll is now up. You can vote thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle if you're watching live. We'll read out the results of that very shortly. But Blake Whitehouse in our Alpha Chats here says, as much as I love Drew, and he does have great points, Braun Strowman also won his first world title at WrestleMania 36 in front of no fans, got fired, came back, and you don't see him on TV complaining every week. Yeah, he's injured, but that's not the point.
He won the secondary belt.
He did win the secondary belt, and also he didn't win the Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
in front of fans.
Yeah.
And
he wasn't the chosen one. It wasn't the journey. It wasn't all of that.
That's exactly
that's all.
Yeah. That is all linked to it because he was the chosen one in 2009, then got fired and actually made himself such a hot prospect on the indie scenes that they brought him back.
Yeah.
Arb1C12 here says, while slow, Raw has better written characters than SmackDown and Dynamite. The interwoven personal dynamics add moving parts that lend intrigue and unpredictability to all the pay-per-view matches. Can't wait for the next chapter. My favorite show alongside Dynamite. Mayor of Painesville Dan says, hi, Luke and other Dan. Hope you're doing well on this fine Tuesday. What a week, huh? Again, no Dexter Loomis. Vinci keeps taking the L's, and Battleground 2013 has not won the poll on WrestleTalk Extra. On The Miz, he was a good IC champ. Ivar should win, though. When was he good IC champ? Dan? I'm assuming 2016, but it doesn't specify. Yes, Battleground 2013 did not win the WrestleTalk Extra poll. Halloween Havoc 97 did, and it went live today.
Yeah.
Me and Pete Quinnell reviewing that for a couple of hours. That features a all-timer WCW moment. Main event, it's Hogan and Piper in the cage. And Hogan goes to leave the cage. He asks for the door to be open. He's going to walk out of it. And Tony Schiavone says on commentary, if Hogan leaves the cage, this match is over. And Roddy Piper pushes Hogan out of the cage and goes out with him. And Tony Schiavone goes, well, they both left the cage. This match will continue.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
It's so good. Also, this cage is a legit, 20 feet thing in the air. It is this rickety-ass cage.
People used to love this show.
It is mad. This cage is enormous. It is a genuine sight to behold. Randy Savage scales up it like he's, ironically, Spider-Man. And he leaps off the top of it with his axe handle. Bearing in mind as well, this is not a WWE cage where it's, next to the ropes. This is, it's like a Hell in a Cell. There's a gap between the cage and the ring. He does this big old leap off the top. It's spectacular. He was just coming off ankle surgery.
Well, you got to test it.
Why are you doing it? Nuts. Also, it has a match between Glenn Gilberti and Jacqueline, and it's as bad as you'd imagine. El Jefe here says, hello, Dan. Hello, Luke. El Jefe here. The Creed Brothers debut was good. I don't really know how Miz being a babyface would work, but I'm sure Dan will like it anyway. How do you feel about DIY and World's End in... How do you feel about DIY and World's End in the Great Long Island? I'm assuming there's two separate
DIY
questions.
at World's End, because that's not happening.
That's what I was thinking, yeah. DIY, I love them because I'm a Johnny Gargano mark, I'm a Ciampa mark, so I'm waiting to see.
Yeah.
I'm not there with it yet.
No.
I'm waiting to see. I think they had a much better opportunity to do this in Cleveland, and a certain Vince McMahon felt the opposite, which is why we didn't get that second.
Yeah.
The Derby, as for World's End, I think it will be MJF Wardlow.
Mm-hmm.
The Derbies of Derps here said, I feel so bad for Sami. Genuinely the most white-hot start to the year, and now is just lukewarm because of this endless, awful Judgment Day feud. Really hope he has a good angle going into the new year. I will disagree with some of that, because he is still mega over.
Oh, yeah.
So while the feud is cold, he still feels hot. Zaf FC 96 says, Luke, with all due respect, it doesn't take a genius to work out why Sami was all pent up. He used the promo to express feelings about a certain situation taking place against innocence. Surely it's not rocket science to understand the very clear subtext.
Actors use given circumstances at any moment.
Yovnai Palada here says, is WWE trying to make JDM, so
Judge J.D.
McDonough, the Sami of Judgment Day? J.D. McDonough is doing everything for them and gets nothing in return.
Not as successful, if that's what the intent is. It doesn't feel like the intent to me.
Drew Cruel says, hi guys, just saying this about The Miz real quick. I was at Money in the Bank 2019 where Miz was the face and Shane won in a steel cage via sweat, and that night Miz got a way louder pop than Balor, Bayley, and even Brock Lesnar. I hate The Miz, but he can get over. Love you. Roach Senpai here says, can we just have 1 week without Bloodline or Judgment Day interference? It becomes so boring and predictable.
Yeah, there is a spinning wheels.
Our Media 20 here says, I get the Rebecca Rhea at WrestleMania 40 is cool, but I'm more interested in Rhea Cargill with Rhea putting Jade over. Aside from that, would you also have Bianca versus Charlotte for the other title one-on-one? Yes, I would.
Yeah. Don't rush Jade, I think. Let's not get over it in our heads a little bit too quick. Let's see. There's time.
James Markin says, why is Luke dressed as Lex Luthor in Batman v Superman?
I haven't seen it.
I've seen Batman Superman. I mean, I wouldn't bother, but it's, I'm just surprised that you haven't seen it.
Nah.
And Yovne has become a member.
Thank you very much, Yovne.
Welcome aboard. Right, let us end the poll. See what you thought of this. This is one of our lowest in a while in terms of the thumbs up, thumbs down. 59% thumbs up.
Yeah. What were the mids?
37.
I think that's accurate, and that means that thumbs down is
3. Like it's the rest.
It's not thumbs down. I think mid is fair. I think mid is fair.
I think so as well. I would have voted mid on this, but that is our lowest thumbs up for a while.
Yeah. It's funny. I always take the mid as thumbs up. I suppose that it's not. Like mid still feels like positive because if I don't like something, it's down. But mid is like fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It was a fine show.
Yeah.
But this was not a fine show. This was an excellent broadcast, and we'll be back tomorrow with the Crown Jewel predictions. It's myself and Dan once again as we go head to head at this Saturday's Crown Jewel live event. But don't just take it from me. Take it from me. Watch WWE Crown Jewel 2023 alongside Luke Owen, Ollie Davis, Tempest, Dan Layton from WrestleTalk, and over 100 other wrestling fans, along with a live version of our board game series, No Holds Barred. We'll be raising money for charity and doing our live reactions to Crown Jewel from the venue, which means you'll have the chance to be on camera and be part of the WrestleTalk live experience. This is the best way to watch wrestling pay-per-views, and tickets are available now. Get your tickets today, and we will see you there to be part of moments like this.
Jay has the spot, has got it in! 1, 2, 3!
That is happening this Saturday at the Long Arm Pub and Brewery. Tickets are available in the link in the video description down below or being put into the live chat by our wonderful moderators. We will see you this Saturday. But before then, we've got the Crown Jewels predictions going up tomorrow. Then we've got the Dynamite review going up on Thursday. The best of WrestleTalk for October 2023. We're going live on Friday. And then it is SmackDown and Crown Jewel live reactions on the Saturday. And then a Crown Jewel review on the Sunday, then a Collision review on the Monday, and then we're back with Raw again on Tuesday. The content never stops, and you never stop being awesome. I've been Luke Owen, DAD. That has been your soon-to-be ex-former Jam That champion. Jam that jam.